welcome. Super excited to have our third contract standards working group call. My name is Ori, and I'm a technical program manager from Pagoda. And just to go over the agenda for today, first, I will give a quick overview on developer governance and some updates that we've made there. Next, we'll do some brief introductions as we have a few panelists joining us today. Then we will jump into the main discussion, NEP 351, 423, and 431. And the links for those are on the invite to this call in case you want to follow more closely. Then we will open it up to Q&A. And lastly, we'll talk about next steps and how you can get involved in developer governance. We're going to start with a little bit of background on developer governance. So over the last few months, we've been engaging with the community over this initiative, which is really about bringing people and organizations together to help build a decentralized developer ecosystem. And we've been bucketing most of the developer community activities into 4 buckets: ideation, implementation, review, and support. And I just wanted to quickly highlight them to help contextualize our meeting today and how to get involved in general. So starting with the ideation, this is about sharing and exploring ideas with other people in the ecosystem. So anyone can submit an idea, like improving the protocol or standards. And it's important to have a place for people to freely express and explore their ideas in a welcoming and permissionless way. And one way to do that is on the developers gigs board. And this is a new platform on Near Social that we've been working on that enables anyone in the community to share their ideas and get feedback and support from the community. And it's still in the early days, but anyone who has an idea is already welcome to post it today and start conversing with the community. Now, you may have a seed for like an early idea, or you just want to explore a topic with others. So another great way to get involved is to join an existing community group. And community groups is a self-organized group of people who's interested in a specific topic, like zero knowledge or wallet standards. And it offers a great opportunity to discuss ideas and collaborate with like-minded people. And a lot of these groups have started and they have dedicated communication channels like Telegram and as well as regular meetings. And you're welcome to join any of them or to start one yourself. You can find them on the developer governance website. And we're also going to publish a blog post really soon that will highlight some recent learnings and insights from some of those groups. So what if you already have submitted an idea and you want to turn it into code? Because that's what developers do, right? So this is where implementation comes in. And you can also use the developer governance gigs board to submit an implementation solution to your idea. Or if you have an alternative solution in mind for somebody else's idea, you can also propose that as well. And this is just a really great way to help gauge community interest and support and get a variety of perspectives so that we can strengthen our problem solving and innovation collectively as a group. And if you have an idea that you want to get integrated across the ecosystem, like a new contract standards or protocol improvement, or if you're seeking funding support, you will need to get a more official validation from a recognized group of experts. And you can do that by submitting a NEP, a Near Enhancement Proposal, which may be familiar to many of you, especially the authors on this call who have submitted them. And this is a rigorous process that is similar to other open source projects like Rust, and it enables anyone to submit their proposals and get them reviewed. So what happens once you submit a NEP and how does it actually move forward? So this is where the review comes in, which involves the working group, like the contract standards working group that we have here today. And the working group is basically a selected committee of subject matter experts that help review proposals in a fairly and timely manner and oversee decisions. And there are multiple working groups, each one focusing on a different ecosystem need. And we've already kicked off 4 of those groups who've helped to bootstrap the NEP process. And we've been iterating on those over the last few months to learn what works and what doesn't. And we hope to continue to introduce more groups in the future and empower the community to run them and iterate further. So yeah, I just wanted to go a little bit into the roles that are involved in the NEP process, and then we'll jump into the call. So First, we have the author or champion. This is the person who writes the proposal and presents it to the working group. Then we have the moderator, the person who facilitates the process and helps validate that the proposal meets the guidelines and progresses forward. We have the reviewer, the subject matter experts who review the technical feasibility, and then the working group member, the approvers, who help make the final decision. And there's a diagram on the NEP 001 that illustrates the process. There are basically 3 stages: draft, review, and voting, and 2 outcomes: approved and rejected. And all the roles that I just mentioned help move the NEP through these stages and towards the outcomes. Now, most of this happens asynchronously on the NEP itself within GitHub, but when we do get to the voting stage, each working group has a public meeting to discuss the NEP with the author and to formalize the decision. And that's exactly what we're doing today. We're looking at 3 different NEPs that are in the voting stage. And lastly, I just want to talk about what happens when a NEP actually gets approved and how can the implementer seek funding. And so this leads us to the last area, which is support. And basically, once the working group completed their technical due diligence and approved the proposal, they can use the DevGov Gigs board to post official attestations. And this tells any potential sponsors that there was a formal review done by recognized experts in the ecosystem, and any organizations or individuals can choose to sponsor that project. So this was a lot of information in a very short amount of time. So just to make it easier, there's a blog post that you can check out later that goes into more detail on the developer governance website. So with that, I want to officially get into the contract standards call and start with introductions. So I'd like to introduce the official contract standards working group members and hand it over to Marcelo.
Sure. Yeah, we're doing this each time. I'm Marcelo, former core developer at NEAR, and then developer at Aurora. I've been involved in the NEAR ecosystem for a long time, and I'm very happy to collaborate in the moving forward all these standards. Yeah. Evgeny?
Hello, my name is Evgeny. I work at Pagoda on the protocol security and also on contract standards.
And me jumping in right here, I'm Vlad. I also joined NEAR when it was quite early days before launching mainnet for sure. And I've been working on different projects throughout the whole landscape of NEAR, including Explorer, indexers, and now I'm betting my head into the NEPs and dedicating my time into developer governance full time. Happy to be here. So let's move on to the next slide, Ori.
Awesome. First, I'd like to welcome Osman.
Hey guys, Osman here from Pagoda as well, working in the ecosystem for about 2 years now. Worked on the wallet, NEAR API.js, and also now wallet standards and dev tools in general. So, yeah. Last name?
Hey everyone, I'm Lachlan. I'm an engineer at Few and Far. Nice to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, and then Farhat is unable to make it, but he gave me the content for the slide for his NEP. So yeah, awesome. Well, let's get into the actual NEP discussions. These are the 3 NEPs once again, and I'm gonna hand it over to Osman to just give a little bit of a author summary, of this NEP, and then we'll get into the discussion.
All right. Yeah, so this NEP is an extension to an already existing NEP that is about the metadata that's on the contract. And currently it's very focused on the source code. So there's a view function that's proposed on contracts that is called contract_source_metadata. And currently the existing NEP 330 proposes that you get back the version, so a commit hash of the code that's on chain. and you also get back a link to the open source code. So basically what this extension is proposing is we add an additional key to this structure that is a list of NAPs that the contract adheres to. And this helps with things like if you want to know like what other methods to expect, what events that would be emitted by the contract, any other abstract ideas. So like ABI might fulfill some things like what a function calls exist and stuff like that. But this will allow you to know like what NAPs that are part of, like whether it's a NAP or another standard, even outside of NAP that the contract adheres to, so that if you're building a client, you can build it around that, and you know what behavior to expect from the contract. And it proposes just an array of a map basically that has a standard key and a version key. So you can see it at the bottom there, just standard and version, and it's just an array of these. So for example, NAP 141 version 1.0.0 is what we have on screen there. So yeah, very simple, just an extension to the existing view call that tells you what NAPs are available, what NAPs the contract adheres to.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time to submit this NAP and work through it. So the community has reviewed it along with subject matter experts and the working group. And I'd like to invite Vlad to summarize some of the benefits and concerns that we saw.
Yeah, sure. So the main benefit is that first of all, it's an improvement to the whole ecosystem. The tooling, the on-chain can use, the other contracts can use this information to better integrate with other contracts, instead of blindly expecting to happen something, to blindly calling some methods. And this enables compatibility, composability of the contracts. And the last but not least, this change is a non-breaking change. It's totally optional for the implementers. If somebody already implemented NAP 330, then it's not breaking those contracts, though it's definitely beneficial to update your contracts if possible with this new feature. And it's just super nice addition to this to the quality of life of contract developers that want to build composable contracts. So we also explored the concerns, had different concerns while we reviewed the NAP initially, and I collected this list of 3 main concerns that were highlighted. Let's go one by one through them. The very first one, that when initially it was introduced, we had an integer field representing the standard NAP number, meaning that we would just see that it's NAP 330 supported. And then if somebody would prefer not to submit a formal NAP, but instead just introduce their own standardization in a decentralized way, it's totally fine. Like XYZ company could decide to run their own registry of standards. That would be a bit of collision and like an unfortunate event that it wouldn't be supported. That's why we went with the string value, where we recommend people to use NAP, the pattern of prefixing NAP and then a number. So NAP 123 and XYZ001 could coexist, and it would be totally fine for a contract to support like standards of a different basic sources, which is super nice. I've seen people doing this for JSON events. You don't need to register your own contract and your own needs and make it a NAP in order to emit JSON events. And we just borrowed the pattern, so it's aligned and also quite extensible going forward. So it was resolved. Osman took another look and addressed it. So now we have this nice flexible interface. Another concern that is still not addressed in the pull request, but it seems like there is a common agreement there, is that NAP 330 and NAP 351 should be defaulted and listed as supported as implemented NAPs. So it's sort of a dog fooding here. So it seems reasonable to have it on the list by default. I think it's a minor thing, and we will address it after the call. And the third concern that was raised was that it could be beneficial to have JSON events about when the metadata, when this contract source metadata is changing. But it was decided that it's outside of the scope of this NAP. And given that usually the source metadata changes only when with a contract redeployment, that could be the basically event people could subscribe for. And once the code is redeployed, just check this contract source metadata. So it shouldn't be really a problem, I believe. And it's even more reliable than introducing a JSON event that expect people to implement it. So we decided to postpone it and probably won't fix in the future. So these are the ones I collected from pull request itself. As we were discussing previously with the previous calls of the working group, we maintain all the information in the comments on the GitHub. So there is nothing new here. It's just a summary. We encourage you to review the NAPs and comment there if you have any other additional context, so we don't miss it and don't have a last minute, surprises. But still, there is a chance right now for last time to maybe highlight something that we totally missed, and that could be a potential blocker for us to merge. But that's basically the summary. Ori, do you want to take a word and say what's gonna be the next steps?
Yeah, so as you just mentioned, Vlad, everyone kind of already commented on the NAP and presented their indication, but I'd like to hear from each working group member, just like based on these benefits and concerns and everything you saw, where are you leaning in terms of your opinion? And I think that brings us to basically the decision stage. So yeah, who wants to go first?
Yeah, I can do it. So in general, this is a very straightforward and useful NAP. Already wrote this in the comment section, and I lean towards approving this NAP. Yeah.
Cool. Maybe you go next. That will be the last.
I think Evgeny is frozen, so maybe you go, Vlad.
Oh, I see. Sure. Well, as I summarized in the previous slide, the concerns I recognized were all addressed and resolved, or decided that it's not the time to even look into them. So I'm leaning towards approving the snap, and yeah. Yay!
Cool. I see some shot saying yep. So I think there seems to be support. Awesome. Okay, well, we need 2/3 voting majority to make a decision, and it sounds like we already have that. I would love to hear from Evgeny as well if you're able to hear us. But if not, I think we can probably rely on the 2/3 vote, as well as the comment that we saw from you, which said that you were also leaning towards approving it. Evgeny, are you there or no? Okay. We will proceed for now, and hopefully we'll regroup with Evgeny. So awesome. So I guess this NEP is officially approved, and Shot seems pretty excited, and I'm pretty excited as well. So let's talk about the next step. So where do we go from here? So Vlad, you want to speak to this as well?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of next steps, this is an app, and it's basically a standard, and so far it's more like a recommendation, and we would need to have the better support in SDK so people can benefit from the snap immediately. So there is a need for design and better tooling around it, like on the SDKs level, and then on the API packages, like in near API JS and near API Py, to make people's developers life easier. So this, so far I haven't heard any champions willing to take this snap to the implementation stage. And this is where we are standing right now in terms of implementation. So let me just walk you through what would be the next step as I see them. First, we would need to, so we actually were looking into the previous experience of previous snaps. It seems like it's very beneficial to include benefits and concerns section from the presentation, the summary, into the NAP itself for the future reference. So those who would read this, the NAP itself years ahead, would have a chance to understand what were the limitations, what we considered as a problem, what we decided it's not a problem. So ideally, we want to embed this section in the NAP documents going forward. And Osman, if you would be happy to take it, it would be great. Otherwise, we would take it as a burden on the moderator side. Ideally, as you may have seen, that we have a lot of NAPs, so it would be great if we would distribute the load. So maybe let's sync up in the comments later on if you don't have time to do it. The second step is to add a change log. Same reasoning. It's better for a future review to understand the evolution of the NAP and what was added when. So it's not a surprise for somebody that, well, somebody would think that they implemented NAPs 330 and then suddenly the content changed. So it would be great to have a change log in the NAP itself. So it's another change in the pull request, but well, given that NAP is already approved, I feel like it's just final polishing steps. And then once that is done by Osman as the author of the NAP or by moderators, Ori and I will jump in as NAP moderators. I'm playing the troll as well, but not today. We'll help and merge the NAP, approve and merge the NAP in the GitHub repo, and then we'll create a call for champions post on the Gigs board. So that's the strategy, I believe, for us. It's as we stated before, this whole process is getting improved over time, and this is the next iteration of it. As you may see, we have a more clear structure here and like better understanding what needs to be done next. We are stepping into the area where we leverage Gigs board more and more these days. So expect to see more engagements over there. Ori, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, no, this was great. Thank you so much for clearly laying this out for everyone. I guess before we move on to the next snap, I just wanted to ask, I know there are several attendees on the call, like, is there anyone who's potentially interested, in implementing this snap, taking this on, or being involved in any of these next steps? Or are there any questions? And we can also come back to it at the end, but I just wanted to open it up in case anyone had any burning thoughts. Okay, well, in that case, this is awesome. I'm super excited to have this NEP move forward, and yeah, we'll regroup on the NEP itself with next steps. Yay. Okay, we have 2 more to get through. Now we have the drill figured out, so the next ones will be even faster, right? All right, so I'd love
By
to
the way,
talk about,
Evgeny, did you had the chance to rejoin and you now can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Unfortunately, my Wi-Fi is not very reliable, but hopefully it will work.
Awesome. Yeah, we had to move forward, but still, it's probably beneficial to. Well, it is beneficial to hear all the working group members' opinions. So, do you have any like? Can you share your basically decision over the snap? How do you feel about it?
So I'm in favor of this snap. I don't know how much of what I was saying you like got through, because my connection like stopped working when I was speaking, I think. So I am in favor of the snap because I'm repeating what I said. There is a need for developers to know which features contracts implement, and without something like what is proposed, they will try say heuristics like trying to call some functions and check what works, and this can be unreliable. So having something like this is much better for them.
Totally agree.
awesome. I'm glad we
Thanks.
have it on the recording, so we know we didn't speak incorrectly on your behalf. So, all right, perfect. So with that, I'd love to move to the next one, NEP 423, and to invite Lachlan to speak to this.
Hey, so yeah, this was driven by a situation or multiple situations where we encountered that contracts had, or contract owners had updated things like a base URI, for instance, on the contract because maybe they purchased a dedicated IPFS gateway and they wanted to add it to the contract, and they added it to the contract, except no one knew about it. And also, I think this is pretty reasonable expectation that someone might want to change the name of the contract or the icon, et cetera, after it's initially initialized. So this event is intended to remedy that, so that any updates to the contract metadata are broadcast, and any tooling can update accordingly.
Awesome. Thank you for that summary. All right, next, benefits. Vlad, same drill.
Yeah, so well, it's again very nice quality of life improvement, and this definitely something that I personally was also hitting while implementing the indexers myself, and also needing to either excessively check the metadata almost at every single block, or hope for the best that metadata didn't change. And then this cache invalidation problem is one of the hardest ones in the computer science area. So it's very nice to have this extension to the events on the NFT contracts. I think we will also benefit from having such event on other contracts and other standards going forward. This thing paves the road, I feel. And just to mention, this is not a breaking change. So all the previously existing contracts will behave exactly fine, and nothing is changing in terms of the expectations to them. Speaking about like breaking changes on the concern side of things, can you switch the slide? Yeah, so there is an unfortunate situation that we have all the NFT contracts that do not emit any JSON events at all. And there are current NFT contracts that only emit mint, burn, and transfer events. But the hope is that eventually the new contracts will be upgraded, or just new contracts will be deployed, and the legacy contracts will die out with the time. So I think it's not a blocker for us to consider. So I think this event will definitely help us down the road, even though it wouldn't be the immediate help for us. And the other concern that was raised in the comments was about adding a similar event for individual NFT update. So whenever each NFT item is edited, it would be great to also have an event about it. But it was decided that it opens up too many other questions and concerns that it's better to split it into two different discussions. So we'll merge this one first and then potentially discuss another event added to the NFT standard. With this said, both of the concerns are resolved, and it seems like we are good to go forward.
All right, so yeah, can we go around and get each member to state their opinion?
I can go first now, I guess. So basically, from my point of view, it's only beneficial. And as I said, I personally wanted to have such an event once I started implementing indexers. So I'm totally aligned with the goal here, and I can see my previous team benefiting this new standard, and I totally see no downsides right now. So I'm voting for approving it. Marcelo, maybe you go next.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so the fact that this is a non-breaking change and it is actually solving a problem that developer have makes it like a no-brainer to approve. So yeah, I lean towards approving this net.
In the beginning.
And I also lean towards approving this snap. Just like with the previous snap, developers need this functionality, and without the standard, they will try to use some heuristics, which will sometimes work, sometimes not work, and they will still need heuristics for older contracts, but at least with the newer contracts which implement this, it will work reliably. The various tools will know when the metadata is updated, so everything will be better.
Cool.
Cool. Well, I'm hearing unanimous consensus. So it sounds like this NEP is approved, which is awesome. Yay, 2 NEPs in the same day. So yeah, I love that comment from Shot, like the Near ecosystem has changed. So since I've gotten involved in the NEP process, like I don't recall ever having 2 NEPs in one meeting that we're able to get through. So definitely a lot of kudos to everyone that's involved in this process and helping to move it forward. And for anyone who might be new to this, there might be a lot of steps and maybe formalities, but really we're trying to make it very transparent and to evolve this. And if you have ideas and ways that we can make it better, please feel free to share them. Okay, so in terms of next steps, kind of similar to the other one, but Vlad, you wanna?
Yeah, well, really very similar to the previous one. With probably one exception. Over the comments we had, I believe, maybe I'm wrong actually. Lahan, let me know if you previously stated that you would be happy to implement it into SDK, at least near REST SDK.
Yeah, I did. I'd be happy to do that. I think there was just I don't know, a little discussion about the exact like implementation.
Sure.
But yeah, happy to do that.
Awesome, yeah. But still, other tooling would also benefit from it. So we'll see. We'll still post a call for champions on the Gigs board. And as I previously already mentioned, Lachlan, I would love to ask you to embed the benefits and concerns and introduce changelog to the PR. If you don't have time, please let us know, and Orin or I will jump into and help there. But ideally, it would be very helpful for authors to help with the final mile here. Ori, do you want to add anything here?
Awesome. I think we're ready for the third NEP, unless anyone has anything else they want to add to this one we just discussed. Okay, so let's move to NEP 431. And as I mentioned, Farhat was unable to make it to the call. I'm curious if there's any working group member who's maybe willing to just speak at a high level to this NEP, just to give context for maybe anyone who might not be familiar.
I can do it.
Okay, thanks.
I'm speaking too much today. Hopefully we'll, you're not too bored with my voice here today, but the overall, let me just present the summary of the NEP, of the proposal here. So it is an NEP extension to the existing fungible token contract, which suggests to add new functionality to introduce allowance for other contracts to other accounts to be able to spend your tokens on your behalf. So the use cases that were presented there included a subscription model, like allowing somebody to charge you by just giving them a certain allowance ahead of time. Another use case was making it sort of zero cost for the owner of the tokens. So they would create an allowance once, and then the other party would charge it and use those tokens on the behalf of the owner and pay for the gas fees themselves. So this was the idea. And yeah, let's jump into the benefits and concerns slides. After the discussion in NEP itself, it seems like there are other ways to achieve the goals, and also the goals themselves could be addressed in a very different way to begin with. So I spent some time and trying to actually uncover the benefits of this specific NEP. Unfortunately, I couldn't. So let's jump into the concerns. So maybe I can unpack what I see is why I don't see the benefits here. And not only me, it was actually every single reviewer highlighted those, and we basically just were super aligned there. That this NEP does not solve the zero cost transfers for the person who received the tokens from somebody. They would still need to submit a transaction and pay for the gas in order to create this allowance to set it up. So it's not zero cost after all. And then it opens up a question like what to do with the allowance amount. Is it frozen, or should it be like always available to the person we are approving access to? So it's all kind of worms with just allowance itself. The second concern is that the subscription model also doesn't work, because the service, you would need to either create a very big allowance or renew your allowance regularly, which defeats the purpose of having this subscription pattern kind of solved halfway. It may also potentially open up security flows, as pointed out in the more extensively in the comments. And also like this allowance, how much is a reasonable amount. It from the UX point of view, it could be quite challenging. And also the major one I feel is that existing fungible token contracts, which are, I believe, the most used and will remain to be quite heavily used going forward, are not likely to adopt this extension because it would require them to go through the whole cycle of review, and it's expensive and also risky. And this whole pattern of creating allowance could be implemented as a separate contract, where you would just transfer your funds like a deposit, and then set up the subscription or spend allowance from there. So I think composability is a better way to solve it, rather than beefing up the fungible token standard with even more complex features. So these were the concerns that I collected from the discussion. I think, yeah, I'd like to hear Marcela and Evgeny as well, if I missed anything and you want to add before we move on.
Yeah, one thing is that the fact that we don't have Firat here, it's a little bit bad, right? It would be good to have one champion. From the comments in the GitHub, I guess where all of us are leaning towards. So it's good to have someone who is a champion this NEP. But anyway, I do agree with the points presented by Vlad, and I think this NEP, if required, could be implemented in a separate contract. And yeah, in general, I lean towards rejecting this NEP.
Evgeny?
So I'm also towards rejecting the snap. I have many security concerns in mind, starting from some race conditions, although this snap is trying to resolve some race conditions by having an argument to the function that set allowance, which is the previous allowance. So potentially if it changed, like this function would fail. There is still potential. It's still something that the caller needs to handle, and this can be problematic. Like this handling can be incomplete and lead to some security issues, but it's not the only one. Even like the way this allowance system is used, because it exists on Ethereum, we have some real world usage data. And I recently read an article which basically told people to look which contract they have allowance for and to remove it if they don't need it. So in fact, people tend to set this allowance to some contracts and forget about it, and this makes kind of security hole in their wallets, and we don't want to enable like a system which encourages this kind of insecure usage. So it's better if we just don't have it in the first place. Ethereum cannot do it, they already have it, but we can avoid it.
That's a pretty good point. Thanks for learning it from the other experiences that already can show that it's not the right thing to do. Yeah, and me myself, as I already mentioned, I'm leaning towards to rejecting as well. So it seems like we have again union decision of rejecting it this time. I think it's great that we have a full packed agenda for today with 3 naps, even though not all of them are getting approved. It's a very important step to review all of them and make it clear the reasons why we are making this or that decision here. Yeah, Ori, do you want to add anything here?
Cool. Yeah. No, so it sounds like we have the decision, which we will definitely formalize on the NEP as well. I think just in terms of the next step for this one, it seems like we're just gonna do that exactly on the NEP. And then if anybody is interested in picking any of this up, you can always start with a new idea, a new NEP, and approach it from a new perspective. So, all right, we got through the 3 NEPs. So I want to open it up to Q&A or feedback for everyone who has been paying such good attention as we went through these 3 different NEPs. So yeah, does anyone have any comments?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so just to, I guess, close off, I do want to highlight some ways that you can get involved really quickly. So as I mentioned, the gigs board is a really good place to get started. If you have a specific idea in mind, you can go there and submit it or start responding to other people's ideas. You can also add a solution or implementation details to those. If you have an idea that you want to get integrated across the ecosystem, or you're seeking funding, you will also need to submit a NEP after you have that idea on the gigs board. So you can do that on GitHub. You can also go and view all of the NEPs and in the various statuses on GitHub and join the discussion. There is a community group as well for contract standards, so you can join that to just seed ideas or connect with others. And you can learn everything about developer governance on our website and our social accounts. And we definitely have a lot more coming, and we plan to continue to iterate, and make this whole ecosystem better. So yeah, lastly, I really want to give a huge shout out again to everyone who has been involved, the authors of those 3 NEPs, Osman, Lachlan, and Firat, the working group members, Marcelo, Evgeny, Vlad, the subject matter experts who helped do the technical assessments, so Robert, Olga, and everyone else who's just a part of this. It really is a community effort. So thank you so much. And with that, I want to wish you all a great weekend. And reminder, there are 2 working group meetings happening next week. So please join them if you can. And yeah, with that, thanks again and take care.